No, really, there's like 10 of you. I'm so glad you came to that. Imagine how much more awkward for me this would be if you hadn't. Really, sincerely, thank you. And welcome. So Shmi Barry. It's a little Hebrew to start us off tonight. Shmi is Hebrew, Barry is just my name. I actually know very little Hebrew. I don't want to mislead anyone right off the bat about that. But I actually do remember a very fun word, though, from my youth. Mishpucha. Mishpucha means family. And I learned that at drama camp, of all places, when they brought in a touring Israeli production of Dreamgirls. And there is that place in the play where Effie's like, I've had it, I'm quitting the group. And her brother Cece is like, no, girl, you have got to stay because we are a family, like a giant tree. Or as the Israeli Cece saying, of course, we are a mishpacha. You got to understand, first of all, that my town, hugely Jewish. So we had visiting Israeli experts come in on like everything. So that summer at drama camp, the Israelis gave us their Dreamgirls. And we gave them our 12-year-old Jewish version of The Wiz. And this somehow passed in my town for cultural exchange. But, so, I just got back from a pretty crazy trip. I know, luckily, just in time for the holiday next week. Sorry, not Jews in the audience tonight. If you don't know, your Jewish friends here celebrate a very important holiday next week called, anyone know? Well, actually, yeah, that's true. It is absolutely true. It is Passover next week. But you know, we actually celebrate a very important holiday before Passover. In fact, every year is the day before Passover. And that is Ta'anit B'Faril. Come on, guys, the fast of the firstborn. Not to be confused with the feast of the firstborn when we eat all the Christian babies. Different holiday. But the fast of the firstborn actually commemorates the miracle that all the Jewish children were spared when the angel of death swept through Egypt, killing all the firstborn Egyptian children, right? So now every year, the oldest child in each Jewish family is supposed to fast for the day. This also is supposed to help us wrestle with our survivor's guilt, perhaps, and mourn all the Egyptians who had to die just so that God would come in His favor to free us. So obviously this is a very somber, very solemn, very arduous fast, right? It starts at dawn and it's over at 10 a.m. Yeah, apparently ever since the 1500s, we have decided we feel so bad for all the kids that have to skip their Pop-Tart or whatever. We call the whole thing off by mid-morning. It's the shortest fast of the year. Ta'anit B'Faril. I cannot believe you guys hadn't heard of this. I'd say the non-Jews here tonight are off the hook, but let's face it, are there any non-Jews here tonight? Really are. Very cool is that. Oh, I see some hands. I see a couple. I see like two. Well, now you know how we feel when we go to South Dakota. Well, actually, I was totally making, this holiday's a real holiday, but I never heard. I totally had to look it up. So I actually don't want anyone here to feel like tonight's going to be too religious for them, because we are actually not going to talk about anything religious with a capital R here tonight. Okay, membership in the tribe, absolutely not required. If you know people voting for Bernie Tuesday, you're Jewish enough. If you ever heard Hillary give you a speech, you're also Jewish enough. Really, non-Jews, Jews are just like you. We really just celebrate 2 holidays a year. Just like you with your Christmas and your Easter, or your Ramadan and your Eid, or your Holy and your Diwali, right? For Jews, the 2 big must-do holidays are Passover, actually, and Hanukkah? Hanukkah's fun, yeah. I love Hanukkah, but yeah, Yom Kippur I think is a biggie. I mean, that's serious. Well, because, like, I don't know anyone who takes off work for Hanukkah, but I know a ton of Jews who take off work for Yom Kippur. Totally non-religious, secular Jews. I mean, it's serious. Of course, it's not because they're actually going to temple or anything, right? Although some of them do still fast, which I find fascinating. Is it? Anyone here still do that? Still fast? Anyone here who doesn't eat all day on Yom Kippur? You use your hands up. Except anorexics. Keep your hands down. Sometimes counts. Put your hands up. Okay, that's actually quite a few of you still fast for atonement. Oh, sorry, quite a few of us. That's great. But why? Like, I guess maybe some of you do consider yourselves religious, which is great. That's totally cool. I'm guessing that maybe you don't actually believe the capital R religion part about being capital R religious. Well, because, all right, so for everybody, like, what is the basic religion of Judaism? Like, why is man on earth? Why are we? That's religion, right? Isn't Judaism's answer to that question basically a little more Hebrew? I remember tikkun olam, to repair the world, right? Thus paving the way for the coming of the Messiah and the establishment of God's earthly kingdom. Isn't that all a little Game of Thrones there, Khaleesi? Not just Judaism, all religions, all sci-fi shows for that matter. Like, I'm not singling anyone out here. Like, I happen to really love Supergirl. But if you tell me you fast once a year for the 14 Rao deities of Krypton, I'm not sitting next to you at Comic-Con. Okay? So I'm just guessing it's maybe more of like a cultural thing that you can fast. So some of us, it's cultural, right? You basically want to honor and continue the traditions of your ancestors, right? Like the tradition of fasting on Yom Kippur. Or the tradition of keeping kosher for Passover. Or the tradition of entering into a childless homosexual union with your Dominican lover? No? Oh, sorry. You see what I did there? Yeah, I asked about you and then I made it all about me. Yeah. Good thing it's my show. So I did just get back from a pretty crazy trip that led me right here to Jersey City tonight, because I happened to meet on this trip some pretty well-connected people who knew how badly I wanted to come back and tell my story in the greater New York metropolitan area. And they worked something out with Olga to host the show as part of her series on identity. And yes, I was under the impression we'd be at the White Eagle Hall, big, beautiful new theater space that apparently hasn't actually opened yet. But you know what, that's okay, because apparently filling houses is not part of my identity. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here. This is a beautiful space. And I've actually learned at this point in my career that getting the show done anywhere requires a lot more than just obvious talent and charismatic junior looks, right? I mean, it requires friends in high places. And when you meet those friends in high places and they offer you a stage anywhere, that is a gift horse you do not look in the mouth. So the trip. What was the trip? Okay, the trip. So I was supposed to be going to Budapest for my brother Howard's wedding. This was not a destination wedding. No. Howard lives in Budapest. Howard's lived in Budapest for 20 years. Whenever the whole expats in Prague thing was happening, Howard looked ahead. Howard went to Budapest because he wanted a more authentic expat experience. And because Howard's always been really savvy about shit like that. I mean, about being infinitely cooler than you. Maybe. Anyway, he was marrying an Algerian girl, born in Algeria, raised in Paris, went to school for some reason in Budapest. You know, I don't know. Because I never met her. In fact, no one in my family had met her. Not in the whole 3 months they had been dating. Now, my parents weren't thrilled. But you know, it never crossed my mind that they might be upset because Nasha was Muslim. It didn't, I swear. Even when ISIS bombed the Brussels airport, 1 week after my brother invites us to Europe for his wedding to Najwa, it never crossed my mind that they might be upset about race, religion, ethnicity, nothing like that. Because we were always raised in my very liberal family to believe that people are equal, race is a construct, stereotyping is hateful. So I just assumed my parents were upset that Howard sprung this on us all so very fast. Now, my boyfriend Anthony disagreed. He said, oh, they're pissed because she's Arab. And I said, oh, by the way, when I do this, that's going to be me being Anthony. My head's going to kind of pop. Yeah, we should talk about this. Buckle up. Acting-wise, tonight might be a little bit of a tour de farce. But I'm a writer, not an actor. There's no equity asterisk next to my name in your program, so cut me some slack and try to go with the story, okay? So Anthony goes, oh, Barry, your parents are pissed because Nasha's Arab. And I said, Anthony, first of all, let's please not call her that. But Barry, she is that. She is Arab. No, Nasha is actually Franco-Algerian. And my parents know that, and my parents don't care. Then how come when you mentioned her on the phone, your mother cried, please don't mention the Arab? You heard that? Yeah, through the phone I heard that she cried so loud. You know, Barry, this whole year we've been dating, I never once before thought of us as an interracial couple. But ever since your brother got engaged, you have all gotten really, really Jewish. Sorry, what's that supposed to mean? Just like everything's suddenly so political with you guys, like so black or white, you know? Like Obama or Netanyahu, ISIS or Iran, Muslim or Jewish. Anthony, you know, you keep saying Jewish like it's some kind of a bad thing. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, I don't even think I meant to say Jewish. I think I meant, racist? You think we're racist? We go, my family are Jews. Anthony, you think all Jews are racist? Against you, Arabs? Oh no, Barry. Franco-Algerians. Right? Oh. Were my family shtilkas really about Nasha's race? So I called my mom. I called her up and I asked her flat out. I said, Mom, are you actually upset because Howard's marrying a woman of Arab descent? And she said, oh, Barry, how can you even ask me that? Of course I am. And don't look so shocked, please, mister. I have every right. My oldest son, okay, is marrying a woman I've never met, halfway around the world, with a huge family in Algeria. So if he ever does decide to leave Europe, oh, it won't be to come home to the ho-hum pedestrian United States. Oh no, he'll go open up an ashram in Africa. Probably not, because ashrams are in India, because they're Hindu. Oh, whatever, smarty pants, so he'll go open up, what, a mosque? No, why would they? She doesn't practice Islam any more than he practices Judaism. You know, neither one of them believes in religion at all. Oh, believes. Oh, you think your brother's not Jewish because he doesn't believe. Ask Hitler if he cared what you believed. No, he looked at your nose, he slapped on a star, and he lit up the spit. Judaism's your ethnicity, it's your bloodline. And yes, I am sorry if this makes me old-fashioned, but it is why I think Jews should marry Jews. Wow, okay, so do you resent Anthony for being Dominican? Oh, very, of course I don't resent Anthony being a man. Dominican. What do I know from Anthony? How many times have I met him? Although, since you're asking, I maybe don't so much see you two getting gay married. Your brother's getting married. Your brother might have kids. And with a Jewish wife, those kids would have been born Jewish no matter what anyone believes. But when a Jew has children who are not born Jewish, then aren't raised Jewish, probably won't ever be taught what being Jewish is. Isn't he killing Jews off? Isn't he basically finishing what Hitler started? Okay, no, I think bringing Hitler into this, again, is getting a little histrionic. Hitler happened, I'm sorry that upsets you. No, it upsets me. You'd invoke him in a conversation that has nothing to do with the Holocaust, like an internet troll or something. Don't have Christian babies, you'll concede to Hitler. I mean, that's like, don't discuss an Iran deal, you'll just create another Hitler. Or never criticize Israel, you'll validate Hitler. Oh, Barry, you shouldn't criticize Israel. Oh, I hope you don't. Oh, not now with this bombing. Wait, because ISIS bombed Brussels, all of Israel's actions are somehow infallible? Infallible? Lots of countries are fallible for lots of things. No one goes after them the way they come after us. The same week of the bombings in that airport, what does the UN pass? A boycott of Israel. They'll boycott us for the situation of the Palestinians, which is terrible. But they'll ignore all the countries killing people, killing women and robbers and gays. Why do you think that is? Why do you think there are no anti-Jamaican riots every time a Jamaican stones a homosexual to death? But there are anti-Semitic riots every time Israel defends itself from stabbers on its streets. I don't know, maybe because it's not really defending yourself to shoot a unconscious and subdued suspect point blank in the head? And who's passing that video around so gleefully? Huh? Anti-Semites, that's who. Okay, now yes, there are anti-Semites in this world and that's terrifying, but we can't just ignore all of Israel's actions because some people have racist reactions to them. And see, here I thought we had to defend the one place on earth Jews call home. Everybody needs a homeland where they will always feel safe, and we happen to descend from Israel. All of your relatives are from Poland and Germany. So ask Poland and Germany why my grandparents were barred from citizenship, from property, from eating with Christians, let alone marrying them. Ask them why my father was lucky to leave with his life. Countries, Barry, we've been shuffled from country to country since countries existed. The Inquisition, ghettos, pogroms, and yes, I'm sorry, the Holocaust. We have been victims throughout human history. I guess I just don't feel like a victim today, and I don't think we're the victims in the West Bank. I don't think our history of being victims should blind us to the possibility that we could be making some bad mistakes. Oh, Barry, you've had it too easy and you don't know where it goes. Letting the world decide when to criticize us? Let them blame us when we get attacked? Maybe you're right and I'm just too scared to let them start. But you know what? If you'd been raised by my father, you'd be scared too. First time you've ever had that lovely conversation. Really, I mean, Israel never came up in my family. I mean, why should Judaism never came up in my family till now? Till now, at Howard's wedding, which in Nashua, coinciding with this Brussels thing, my mom could end every conversation with the Holocaust. I mean, even if it started as like a conversation about Sunday night's good wife. That's where it went. That's what Anthony meant when he said that the wedding was turning us really, really Jewish. Oh, God, poor Anthony. Well, he heard that whole thing. About the whole conversation with my mom, about Judaism being my bloodline, and us not getting gay married. Oh, and all non-Jews might as well be being little Hitlers. Finishing what Hitler started, she said. Anthony has nothing to do with Hitler. Neither does Howard's wedding. Do they? So I apologized to Anthony, of course. And I tried to explain to him what it's like for Jews of my mother's generation, especially in places like Beechwood, Ohio. That's where I grew up. That's the Dromingham place. It's a lot like a Greenwich or a Skokie, Brookline, a Teaneck, which you might know, right? Except Beechwood is even more so. Okay, because Beechwood is 10% Black, 3% Asian, 1% Latino, and 83% Jewish. 83%. I mean, public schools closed, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, and the first day of Passover. There's a mezuzah on every house. It doesn't matter who lives in it. Okay? You grow up thinking Jewish is just the norm. It's just what everyone is. Oh, you know what minority means. Oh, yeah. But minority doesn't mean you. Minority means you're Black, or you're Asian, or you're Jennifer Vasquez. And our parents found security in these like all-Jewish enclaves, which is great, but I think they don't know how successfully assimilated Jews are now outside of their mountain shells. Like, they still think it's as bad out there in the big, wide world as it was for their parents. Like a pogrom still awaits anyone who strays too far from the mall. And I think this is, to be fair, I know this is because, so every family in a place like Beechwood had someone in the Holocaust. I don't know what camp my grandfather was in, he never talked about it. Of course, that's a man who never talked about a lot of things. I grew up knowing he lost his whole family. My whole life outside of the was always just Gramps and my mom, and when Gramps died, it was just mom, so. So Spielberg's people actually came to interview my grandfather when they were making that Shoah documentary where they went around filming survivors. And this is in the 90s, this is right before Gramps died, and he's in the nursing home. He's 80-something, he's a little senile, he's a lot hard of hearing, but they come, and they set up their cameras, and they ask him what he remembers about the Holocaust. And I will never forget what my grandfather said. He said, "What?" And so they asked again, he said, "What do you remember about the Holocaust?" And he grabs my arm, and he says, "Are they asking me about the Holocaust?" I said, "Yeah, Gramps, they want to know what you remember." And he says, "The Holocaust? People still believe in that? But that's just a story I cooked up with Satan." That did not make the film, so don't look for it, it's not there. Anthony didn't really get the point of that story either, but he did try really hard to understand what I was trying to say. He said, "Okay, so maybe what you're saying is the Holocaust makes your family feel Jewish?" Anthony, I think it does. I think for some families it's Kugel, and for some families it's klezmer, and for my family it is a deep-seated sense of victimization. Okay, but Dad, what do you think made them feel Jewish for the 2,000 years before the Holocaust? Greek oppression, Roman destruction, Spanish Inquisition, and Russian pogroms. Okay, I do get that there's a persecution theme. I guess what I'm wondering is, no matter how safe or successful you've gotten since then, and no matter what mistakes you might make with your power, will you always, in every situation, consider yourself the victim? I really don't like how you're bullying me right now. You see? You see how? Anthony, I'm kidding. No, of course I don't want to think of myself as a victim. In 21st century America, you're right, I know. I am part of the most successful immigrant group in history. I'm just trying to explain why my mother has a sort of knee-jerk protectionist reaction. But there's a difference between protectionist, if that's the word you want to use, and prejudiced, okay? And something awful happening to your grandfather 70 years ago does not give your family the right to act awfully to somebody else today. There are people like your brother's fiance. There's people right here in America, okay, who face more discrimination than you or your mother every day of the week, okay? Muslims, Latinos, blacks, gays, okay? But in my mom's defense, none of that's really comparable. Oh, it's not comparable? I'm sorry, you think you have a harder time getting a job, or a cab, or walking past a cop than I do? Well, no, but I have known her to kill 6 million of you. Oh. Yeah, I'm not playing who's the bigger victim. I'm sorry, you're right. Anthony, okay. Of course we should not fight over whose experience of discrimination is worse. The fact that we are both from oppressed minorities is really something beautiful we should share. Oh, Larry, no one jokes about it. You know, I don't think I can go with you to this wedding. Wait, what? I'm sorry, I don't think I can be around all this self-pity and judgment. What, accept it? Ignore it? Oh, Anthony, you are so overreacting right now. This is a wedding. This is a festive occasion. What is festive to you about hating the bride for her race? Do you even get that? You know what, this whole thing has started to make me too uncomfortable. Like, what whole thing? Anthony, you're talking about the wedding, you're not talking about us. Anthony? It's my first real boyfriend we're talking about here. I don't know if I mentioned that. Not sure it matters, but it's my first time in love. We're so ridiculous, you know? Two educated, progressive people. Race didn't matter to us, gender didn't even matter to us, but religion? Religion was really going to somehow come between us. And you know, was it even religion, or was it just the Holocaust? I know some of you probably think this is why my mom is right, this is why we shouldn't date outsiders, right? Stop trying to explain yourself to him, they'll never get us, just forget it and move on. But you know, I actually don't think we can afford to ignore how other people see us. Today, with Israel as isolated as it feels, you know, I just feel like, look, okay, if the people closest to us can't understand our perspective on things, how do we expect total strangers to think about us half a world away? Like, okay, big surprise. Anti-Semitism increases in the wake of bad press for Israel, right? Probably not a shocker. But did you know that Holocaust denial specifically increases too? You can go back and look it up. 2008, the first Gaza war. Huge uptick in 2010, the flotilla debacle, the flotilla raid, that's when deniers got really big on college campuses. And when Golden Dawn and the neo-Nazis got big in Europe. Now, today, Israel has to shoot anyone that might have a knife, right? And what do we get? Why, we had a presidential candidate right here in America say the Holocaust only happened because those Jews were too chicken shit to carry guns. Now, my mom would say this is why we can never let anyone criticize Israel, because it leads to things like denial. But I guess what I'm wondering is, so could we share some of the responsibility by bringing the Holocaust into everything in the first place? Like my mom uses it as her justification for everything from Israel's police policies to my dating pool. Netanyahu mentioned the Holocaust in every speech he gave about the Iran deal. He even somehow said the Arabs gave the idea for the Holocaust to Hitler, which is wrong and which I think is dangerous. I think when we make the Holocaust our ultimate justification for everything we do, well, because we think it is inarguable, we actually make it the only thing we give our opponents to argue with. If our comeback to every legitimate question or criticism is always like, oh, but the Holocaust, eventually whoever we're arguing with has no choice but to either say, oh, okay, the Holocaust, or, okay then, no Holocaust. Or even, prove it, this Holocaust. As if it were that easy, right? To pretend it never happened, like the crazy deniers. Like we wouldn't all just wish it away if we could. Oh, a world without the Holocaust, yes, I mean, no, I know these are evil, crazy people. These are evil, crazy wackos. No, I know that. I'm just saying, imagine how much easier life being Jewish would be. If they were right, like if there had never been a Holocaust to make us feel like guilty for criticizing Israel, or like little Hitlers for loving boys, if we could just like wish it away. Ugh, I posted this on Facebook. Right after my fight with Anthony, I went online and I just posted, does anybody else ever wish the Holocaust never happened? Do you know a lot of people wrote back yes? I know, because ever since the Holocaust, it is like impossible for us to engage with the world progressively, because it keeps us these myopic victims, you know? Just myopic with fear. A lot of people wrote back, no, because then millions and millions of people would not have died. Yeah, they didn't get it. Because of the Holocaust, I'm losing my boyfriend. At this point, Anthony also is, so he's not speaking to me for our little game of who's the bigger victim. My mom also is not speaking to me for, I guess, kind of calling her a racist. And a lot of my friends suddenly unfriended me. So, so one night I Googled Holocaust denial. I was just curious, what their supposed facts are. Like, how they possibly justify their humanity. Because news articles never say that, you know this. They'll say, like, oh, so-and-so denies the Holocaust. But they never tell you, like, how or why or what facts these people offer up instead to, I don't know, explain World War II. And I get it, I know, we don't want to give these people a platform to spread their vile nonsense, right? But, okay, only 54% of the world has ever even heard of the Holocaust. And out of those, these deniers have somehow convinced 1/3 of them that a major portion of your identity is a lie. Sorry, all right. Don't you want to know how? Don't you think it's important? I thought it was important, I wanted to know. Anyone ever heard of Arthur Butts? He is a tenured professor at Northwestern University. Teaches electrical engineering, not allowed to mention the word history in his classes, but he's there. You can find him online. He posts his email, his syllabus, his office hours, and in 1976, this tenured professor at Northwestern University wrote a little book called The Hoax of the 20th Century. Oh yes, about the Holocaust. I emailed him. He wrote me back. He invited me to Chicago to talk. He went in over email, Northwestern address, school policy, threat of legal action, whatever. But if I was ever in Chicago, he said I should feel free. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I went. Look, I had to leave off when I was wedding. What I did not have were plane tickets. Because Anthony had been vacillating even before this fight, so we had waited to book, and now I was on my own, and tickets to Budapest, guess what, were like $1,000. And I was not in a place to ask my mom, but I did say that United had a super cheap fare from Chicago to London. From London, something on Ryanair or whatever, to Budapest would be simple. I happen to have a car. I have a friend in Chicago overdue for a visit. I got other friends support me. My relationship was kryptonite. I went to Chicago. Now, my friend's apartment is in Boys Town, obvi. And I found this bar right in between all the gay stuff and the stadium. There's like some famous stadium there. And I had Butts meet me at this bar. A couple reasons. One, it was a public place. And two, it was a straight place. I was already terrified how Bugs was going to treat me as a Jew. The last thing I needed him to know was that I was also gay. So I thanked him for meeting me, and he said, I think you're the first queer I ever seen in this joint. I don't know what, hey kid, relax. I teach college in Chicago. I've seen my share of cocksuckers. I'm from the Bronx, for Christ's sake. I got no problem with you people. In fact, my nephew is a cocksucker. He makes more money than all 6 of his siblings put together. Takes care of my brother and my sister-in-law, so I don't gotta do it. That fruit is fine by me. What are you drinking? Jesus, I don't know. What are you having? I am enjoying a Bex. You know, I think under the circumstances, I might pick something less German. Less German? Oh, I like that. You are funny, you people. Funny gay people or funny Jews? Both. Holy hell, with your powers combined? Imagine. Think how much more money my cocksucking nephew would make if he were also Jewish. Kid, I love Jews. Movies. Bagels. World needs both. Okay. If you love Jews so much, why do you deny the Holocaust? Deny it. I don't deny it. That's a media word. Look at the Nazis came to power. They persecuted Jews. They put them in camps, treated them like shit. Tons of them died. Who the fuck denies any of that? Denied it. All right, there's one thing I deny. No one ever eradicated them as a race. All right, this ain't the Hutu and the Tutsi. Okay, that 6 million figure? Horse shit. Even your Jewish historians have tossed that number. You know that? Oh, sorry, they've revised it. Estimates by your own Jewish scholars now run as low as 4.5 mil. In another couple of years, they'll say 2.5. It's the incredible, shrinking Holocaust. Give them another couple of years, they'll know it's the same number I say it is. Okay, and what number is that? 300,000. There were more than that in the attic with Anne Frank. Kidding. No, there weren't. Because listen, it's like this. You lose someone close to you in a concentration camp, right? You're called cocksucker, maybe, right? You call, you report a missing to the Red Cross. I mean, presumably they care about cocksuckers then. But wait, did he have a mother? Did she call and report a missing too? Uh-oh. Have we got one dead Jew now, or have we got 2? Okay, I am so sure the researchers accounting for that. How do you know? You study their methodology, you know how they got the numbers? No, but I know there are lists of names, distinct names at Yad Vashem and the museums, names of Jews who went into the camps and never came out. Okay, let's say there are lists of names. Let's say there's even 6 million of them, names of Jews. Who says they all died? And if they did all die, you know, who says they're all real? You know, all these people they say died, maybe they just moved to Brooklyn. Sorry. Millions of Jews, they say died in the Holocaust, all secretly moved to Brooklyn? Sure, they jumped at the chance to start their lives over, kid. Do you know what Jewish marriages were like in old world Europe? It was all this medieval, arranged, fuck through a hole in the sheet type of shit. It was terrible. Most of the people they say vanished after the war took advantage of the chaos to go underground and escape their spouses. Do you know how ridiculous you sound? I sound ridiculous to you? Do I sound more or less ridiculous than saying they were shoved into giant ovens out of Hansel and Gretel while the world just watched? Do I sound more or less ridiculous than taking an honest look around you at all the Jews there are and how powerful they are, and you telling me a third of their entire population was wiped out just 70 years ago? Okay. But we agree there were camps, right? Yeah, there were camps. Where Jews died. Of course Jews died. Death camps where Nazis sent Jews to die. No, who says death camps? How do you know what the Nazis intended to happen inside their prisons, huh? Didn't we have internment camps here for our Japs? Don't we have one right now at Guantanamo? Those are completely different. Yeah, how? I don't know, like a million ways. Oh, a million ways. Rigorously argued. I am obviously sitting here with an alumnus of speech and debate. All right, then you know what? I'm no expert either, okay? I'm a camp like. You know who is though? Wait a minute. You're going to London, aren't you, for a wedding or some shit? Well, I mean, I'm going through London to Budapest. You know who you got to stop and talk to while you're there? In London. The world expert on the camp life, the whole Nazi war plan. David Irving. You heard of him? No, of course not. Just one of the most respected scholars on the planet. Why should anyone have heard of him in our fucking United States? Look him up in London. David Irving. Tell him I sent you. Oh, of course that was all bullshit. I know. Come on. Millions of survivors down in Brooklyn. Although, you know, my friend Sean he actually did the 2010 census in Brooklyn. Borough Park. It's hugely orthodox. Anyway, he told me that whenever he knocked on Jewish houses, no one would answer the door. Almost like they didn't want the census to know just how many of them there were. Of course, as I explained to Sean, it's not Jewish. Jews have had plenty of reasons throughout history to fear the census. I mean, considering what's happened every time someone has said, hey Jews, raise your hands. Still, I have to admit, all night I did kind of obsess over Guts' numbers. Just about how do we know exactly how many people died? And how come we never hear any disagreements over that 6 million total? Just about what if the Holocaust is horrible as it was? What if it wasn't as cataclysmic a genocide as we think? 6 million, 4.5, 2.5, would it matter? Would anything change? So I went online to do some comparative math, right? Okay, so ISIS has killed 5,000 Yazidis. Bashar al-Assad, 250,000 Syrians. In Sudan, 600,000 were killed in the genocide, and another 30,000 after independence. In Rwanda, it was 800,000. Cambodians under Pol Pot, 1.7 million. Chinese in Nanking, that was just 300,000. But Armenians in World War I, that's another million, no matter what the Turkish government tells you. They estimate the number of lives lost over 500 years of the Atlantic slave trade to be between 15 and 40 million. Okay, let's average that figure of 28 million. Or another 280,000 in any 5-year period, which will approximate the time frame of the Holocaust, right? Add that all together. We're still not at 6 million, right? Okay, American Indians. 80 million killed over 400 years, or another 1 million in any 5-year period. Plus, I forgot about Bosnia. So let's toss in that Srebrenica genocide for another 10,000, because why the hell not? Add all those genocide victims together. 5,975,000. More Jews were killed in just 5 years than in all those other genocides put together. Well, what if? Just what if I could go home and make my mother conceive of a rich and a full Judaism that's just divorced from that number? Or what if I could tell Anthony I didn't feel like quite as big a victim anymore? So I did stop in London, and I did meet David Irving. I met him at his local pub. He ordered us some very sweet ciders and some crisps. And I told him how intrigued I had been by our butts. And he said, "You were intrigued by that ignoramus?" Oh, the butts. More like awful putts. Oh, I'm sorry. You do know what a putz is, don't you? Yeah, I do. I'm just kind of surprised to hear you say it. Oh, I love Yiddish. Tragically, a dying tongue. You people really ought to better preserve your heritage. Okay, I'm so lost. I thought deniers were supposed to hate Jews. First of all, I'm a revisionist, not a denier. I investigate history, causality, evidence, politics. Don't let the media fool you. And please don't let morons like Vox define me. Oh, did he give you his underground bachelor's in Brooklyn spiel? Yeah, you don't buy that? Am I an idiot? Not to cast aspersions on your American university system, but your author Butts is rather ill-informed for a professor. No, according to my research, a good 4 million Jews did die as a direct result of the war. Okay, now 4 million. Now, Yavashem says 6. Oh yes, Yavashem. They don't account for the 2 million Jews who made it out of Germany before the war. Emigrated, yes, at the first whiff of trouble, to Czechoslovakia and to Poland. You think 2 million German Jews survived the war by moving to Czechoslovakia and Poland? That's it, precisely. Hitler annexed Czechoslovakia. Auschwitz is in Poland. How were 2 million Jews safe in Czechoslovakia and Poland? You want to talk about Auschwitz? What it was? What happened there? Because I have dedicated my professional life to its study. Have you? Good. Now, the first thing to understand is Hitler did not instigate a world war so he could run around killing Jews. It's a ridiculous suggestion. It makes a mockery of the man's political genius. Oh, he hated Jews, yes. He scapegoated them for Germany's economic ills, yes again. But what do we do when we scapegoat people? What would Trump do to your Mexicans and your Muslims? He'd kick them out. Hitler wanted to kick his Jews out to Siberia, and we know this from his speech 25 October 1941. We will relocate them to the marshy parts of Russia. Never did he say exterminate. I thought he famously did say he wanted to, stamp out Judaism. Stamp out, yes. That's a synonym for relocate. No. Usually when I want to stamp out a bug and my boyfriend wants to relocate it, we're talking about two very different fates for that bug. We could argue over mistranslations all day if you'd like, or we could look at the written record. Oh no, wait. We have no written record of any order Hitler ever gave to kill Jews. We have records of all of his other orders, heinous orders, including orders to execute his own mentally ill German people. The man is not shy about writing down his knuckling. And yet not one single written record remains of any order Hitler ever gave to kill Jews. Why is that? Because that was never his intent. His intent was to protect Austria from Soviet invasion. I assume you've read about Stalin's menacing of Germany with communism. and his goals of taking over the West, and Hitler's appeals for aid to Churchill and to your Roosevelt. I learned about Roosevelt when we did presidents. Good. And what did you learn? His wife was a lesbian. More germane to our discussion, perhaps, is that if Roosevelt and Churchill had heeded Hitler's warnings and had come to his aid against Stalin, they would not have ended up in a communist Germany, or a 50-year Cold War, or for that matter, a Vietnam. You see, Hitler knew that Stalin was a menace, and Jews he considered nationless Russian sympathizers, agitating for Russia inside his own country. And you know, it is always wise to worry about Russian agitators inside one's country. Look at the Ukraine today, look, So, Hitler locked his shoes up. He did. He interned. And yes, the conditions were probably terrible. Well, although, we can't know for certain what they were like. Well, because they're all gone. Oh, all the camps you can tour today, those are recreations. They're like little Holocaust villages at Epcot. You can walk around and cry. Survivor testimony? No, that's discounted as a rule. Even your Jewish historians will tell you that. But they interviewed one survivor who said his time at Buchenwald was like being at a country club, so... Still, according to my analysis of the available remaining evidence, due to camp mismanagement, now that's overwork, that's starvation, it's largely illness, the Nazis may have, inadvertently, murdered as many as 4 million Jews. But that's not genocide, you see? Well, there was no intentionality to it. There was no program in place designed to kill. But then why were there gas chambers? Were there gas chambers? Yes. Well, you know, I'm no engineer. But I do know someone who is, with whom you might wish to speak, should you have time. When are you needed in Budapest? End of the week. Fancy a short detour through Paris? You could speak with Robert Forrest then. He is an expert on those so-called gas chambers, and he is a bona fide engineer. Yeah, I can tell some of you are starting to get a little uncomfortable. There's like 20 of you people, you're not hard to read, okay? Look, I promise I'm not that gullible. Bear with me a little longer. I'm not saying I believe David Irving. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't really know what to believe at this point. Well, look, I don't speak German. I don't know every text he was quoting from, every speech Hitler ever gave. I mean, do you? And sure, I could consult with other experts, right, who draw complete opposite conclusions to him. But it just occurred to me that either way, I am taking someone else's word for something I don't personally know. Like, okay, imagine typing into Google right now, were there gas chambers? Like any kid might, like some kid probably is doing somewhere in the world right now, were there gas chambers, right? What kind of answers do you think come up? I'll tell you the first one that comes up. It's no. So, how do we want that kid to choose what answer to believe without looking at them all? Especially since we don't want her picking the very first hit she gets. I just didn't want to pick the first hit I got. I wanted to look at all the answers. So I did go through Paris so I could meet Robert Forrest. I met him at the Café des Arts, the one on Saint Michel. Ever since he was fired from teaching, Forrest lives at the same cafe, sits at the same table, and orders the same thing and scribbles the same angry letters to a lone newspaper about the Holocaust. Oh, I know, my title's 10 times better. So, he was already there when I got there. I mean, it looks like this man's never left. But he did try to sound very busy, and he said, your timing is lucky, because I leave tomorrow for a very important conference. Well, I do appreciate you meeting me, sir. You can do something for me then. In return, I want you to sign for me this letter. Maybe from a Jew in America, they publish it. What is it I'm signing here? The proof. Finally, I have the irrefutable proof. I have made complete my study of the gas chambers, the drinks from the chambers, and Auschwitz. Auschwitz is exactly what David Irving sent me to talk to you about. Of course it is, because in America, you have fed nothing but lies about us. For example, do you know? Right after the war, the Allies say 22 concentration camps had these gas chambers. 22. Today, they say, oh, oops, it was only 6. 22 to 6. What happened to the other 16 chambers? They both disappear. You're calling it an incredible shrinking Holocaust. Exactement. And I have dedicated my life to the study of these discrepancies. Stories of chambres de gas that have changed for 70 years. I scrutinize everything. I look at the orders for the work, yes. The invoices for the supplies, yes. The blue for the prints, no. For example, do you know?
had no locks. Oh, how could they be used for murder? The doors were so locked. Do you know these same doors had no seals to be tight as air? Do you know the technology they would need to ventilate such a room to use this gas is technology that did not yet exist? Tell me this. How did they use gas that is inflammable, right next to giant incinerator, and never one time did they go boom? Well, I mean, if the gas is really flammable, I mean, was the gas flammable? Not all gas is flammable. I'm just saying, like, could you be making shocking fats out of things that aren't really fats at all? I will tell you what fats are about this gas, huh? This cyclonic bay. I have made extensive studies. I have gone to Auschwitz, and I have collected samples of great fancy gas chambers. And do you know, in my analysis of this spring, there is not one single trace of any cyclonic bay. Okay, you analyzed a brick that's been outside, right? I've been in the rain for 7 years. Like, wouldn't any evidence on that be gone? Ah, so there is no evidence that there was gas. You will just believe there was gas. In your courts in America, there is no crime without first there is proof. Where is the proof? Why do I have to prove to you this thing did not happen? Why do they not have to prove it did? Do you know how many times I have asked them for the proof? Any proof of anything. First, I collected samples of human hair from the camps, and I sent them to survivors with a very nice letter asking them to prove that any of this hair used to be their hair. Can you believe that to these letters I received no response? So then, I collect samples of human bone from the camps, and I send them to forensic scientists with another very nice letter asking them to prove with DNA these are even bones of Jews. Can you believe that once again I received no response? So now we will send my findings on this print to every newspaper in the world, but you already know what we are going to receive. I'm guessing no response. Actually, I have already seen some response, but nothing satisfactory. Okay, I see pictures of these gas chambers, of the crematoria. Photographs! Photographs cannot be fake. You are like someone who says, I know Hoaxocaust is real because I see Schindler's List. A film based on the book of fiction, by the way. This is not proof of the same. If there's really no proof, why does everyone else say they were real? Because I say the findings prove A. But another engineer says, no, same findings prove B. It is the same as everything. Is man making more warm the planet? Does less tax make more jobs? Will more refugees mean more violence? In each case, people choose who they wish to believe. Oh, that's good, babe. And they choose the ones they most wish to be true. What we must do is change what most people wish to be true. Because the more people who pick my findings, the more my page moves up onto Google, and the more my entree on Wikipedia gets looked okay. And voila! My opinion is now more true than that of the other person. What most people wish to be true is true. In this way, Israel's behavior to the Arabs helps us very, very much. The more angry people get with Israel, the more they wish the truth to be known. This is why it's my mom. We can't bring the Holocaust into everything. Because it makes people want to be skeptical. It makes some people want to not believe. Exactly. People just like you. Oh, no, I'm not like that. I'm not hoping the whole thing is like some big lie. I just am looking for facts, dispassionate facts. I want to be able to approach my politics, my mother, my boyfriend, just facts. I just don't want my entire identity to be formed by like some traumatic collective memory by the Jews on one hand, or any like anti-Zionist race-baiting craziness from like a Mahmoud Ahmadinejad on the other side. Monsieur Ahmadinejad is actually a very intelligent man. You should meet him. Oh yeah, this guy Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. That's actually what he was running off to the next day. A Holocaust denial conference in Iran. Yes, I went with him. Look, of course I hesitated. I mean, it's pretty scary. But look, that timing, that's just too perfect. Except that at this point I would miss Howard's wedding. But you know what? Iran! That's like the one place even Howard has never been able to go. He would miss his own wedding if he had this chance. And I felt so close to the answers, you know? Like if the numbers are inflated, and if Hitler's intentions are misstated, and if the gas chambers are totally invented, like, what's the source of all the confusion? Like, who got the history so wrong, and how? And those are exactly the questions that Forreston said I get answered at this conference. And it was easy. I mean, it was so much easier than you ever even believe. I mean, it was just a flight to Turkey, some friend at the visa counter, a stay to Iran, and the next thing you know, I'm entering a Tehran hotel where I meet Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Welcome to Iran, American Jew.
Thank you, Mr. Ex-President. Oh no, it is only Professor now of Science and Technology and the repression of same. Plus, I also sit on new president's Expediency Discernment Committee, but that's mostly bullshit. We do less on that committee than the devils did all season. Have you met the new president yet? Rouhani? No, I came right here from the airport. Oh, that is a shame because Rouhani, he loves the Americans. Yes, he loves the Americans. Right now, he is bending over for your UN inspectors to fuck him up the ass. I kid you. Because that fucking is very important to your cultural decline, so I respect it. When I saw you and Diana Sawyer, you didn't speak one word of English. Yes, Diana Sawyer interview. What can I say? Since that time, I have listened to every Harry Potter book on CD, and Jim Dale, marvelous English tutor. Now come, I understand you wish to see our conference. So I got a tour by Mahmoud Ahmadinejad of the West Sacred Lie, it's called. It was at a hotel, very fancy. Well, no, the lobby was very fancy. The rest of the hotel was a shithole, but that's not just Iran. They do that abroad. Did you notice that? They like trick you with a really fancy lobby. Anyway, I don't want to be a bitch about it because Mahmoud was actually super generous. He did not only pay 1 cent for my entire trip. He even got all of my plane fare reimbursed. He said he couldn't get directly into the treasury the way he wanted to have it. He did take me to this Institute for Political and International Studies. That's the government agency that hosts the conferences, and they subsidize everything. It's the same agency that eventually contacted Olga about hosting this show. So, the tour. So, here we have ballroom A. At each table, you will see a different author or scientist. They are signing autographs, they are answering questions, yes. And here we have ballroom B, where we have a schedule of different speakers on various topics, plus some presentations, and to be honest, a little shameless self-promotion of upcoming film projects or political candidates. That is a conference. Autographs, speakers, PR. Is that also strange? I don't know, I guess it depends what they're talking about. Like, what's that guy in ballroom B talking about right now? Ah, yes, very important topic, very important. The I Am Frank Diary. Forensically, not possible. Type of pen used, for example, used ink not invented until 1953. Okay, I am sure someone authenticated the Anne Frank Diary. Oh yes, they did. Do you know who? Netherlands State Forensic Lab. Netherlands State Forensic Lab. There is a reason you have no television program, CSI Amsterdam. Okay? Only thing those people can authenticate the tulip. Okay? There's not a forensic lab anywhere that would miss something as obvious as fake ink. So you're saying they lie. Why would they lie? Why would they lie? Exactly the topic of our keynote speech in 10 more minutes' time. Israel, the West's sacred lie. Israel, great. Do you think you can maybe explain to me how the Anne Frank Diary is a hoax without mentioning Israel? Oh. I am Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. You are at Holocaust Denial Conference in Iran, and you want me not to mention Israel? Talk about a handicap. No, it's just, okay, people like my mom thinks that only anti-Semites can ever criticize Israel, right? And my boyfriend thinks one should have nothing to do with the other, and I am just hoping you can help me go back home and talk about things like Judaism and Israel completely separate from the Holocaust. Judaism, you can speak of separate from Holocaust, of course. Judaism has been around for thousands of years. But Israel? There is no Israel without the Holocaust. Zionist regime is illegitimate child of Holocaust me. You let me trick the world into letting me declare a state on land the British and UN were struggling to divide. Oh, then this Holocaust happens. And suddenly the world lets you take it all. Oh, and massacre all the Arabs who are living there for good measure. Just like you Americans did to your Indians, no? Do you know David Ben-Gurion? First Israeli Prime Minister? He said, if I were Arab leader, I would never make peace with Israel. We have taken their country. Okay, but look, eventually everyone's just going to have to share it. I mean, I know final status issues are like a pipe dream right now, but look, at least Netanyahu's on the record as saying he supports 2 states. Oh, you see, Netanyahu, what a mensch. First of all, he reneged on that offer 2 years ago. Second, how true was offer really? When he built settlement after settlement after settlement on land, his state was supposed to maybe one day concede. Huh? How about, why should Israel concede anything? They are the largest recipients of USA economic and military. They are the only country you give that aid to up front, no accounting, no strings, and they are only nuclear power in the region for now. Why would they change if the Americans do not make them? I don't know. I don't know all that. I think you know a lot more history than I do. Oh, baby, you do not need to know any history because you are American. And Americans are powerful. And Jewish Americans You are most powerful of all, huh? Because you have this Holocaust on your side. You have nukes on your side. And you have Satan. I'm sorry, did you just say Satan? I said Holocaust, nukes, and Satan. Yeah, but one of them is definitely Satan. Oh, Mary, come. You do not expect me to believe you pulled off the greatest hoax in human history all by yourselves. Israel is why you created this hoax, but it does not begin to explain how. Only possible explanation for how is Satan. Mary, this is verified. It is all in a book called Protocols of Elders of Zion. That's verification to you? That like propaganda pamphlet about Jews and the devil taking over the world? Oh good, you know it. You are not as ignorant as I thought. And in that moment, right there, that's the one. I finally realized how ridiculous really everything I heard lecture really was. I know it didn't take him long enough, but he made me see, look, he was really right. Nothing in the denier's arguments is remotely plausible unless it's all part of some overarching satanic scheme. Because look. Okay, if Butts is right, that the numbers are so dramatically inflated, okay, that would mean millions of documents were fabricated and planted and unearthed on cue all over Europe, coordinated by what? Magical intervention? Or if Irving is right, oh, Hitler never meant to kill those Jews. Okay, that just means that all of Hitler's public speeches are mistranscribed or misremembered, along with all the other Nazis' public speeches and meeting minutes and testimony. All faked in concert through what? A mind meld? Or if Orson is right, that, oh, there never even were any gas chambers. I guess that means all the orders for the gas and the construction plans. Oh, and all of the guards' diaries and memoirs and photographs of them were all counterfeited to corroborate each other. Masterminded by what? One all-powerful publisher? No. Nothing in the denier's arguments is remotely possible unless it's all part of an overarching satanic scheme. And once Ahmadinejad made me realize that, I finally realized believing the Holocaust doesn't happen means believing in Satan means being insane. And I said so right to Ahmadinejad's face. And he said, so this is where we lose you, eh? Satan was maybe one step too far? No, Satan was like 1,000 steps too far. Okay, no one in his right mind will ever believe the Holocaust didn't happen if that hinges on literally demonizing Jews. Oh, very more people do believe it every day. In fact, I think even you believed it for a time. But that's just because you use these facts and figures to obscure this rank anti-Semitism that's at the root of your theory. It's like facts and figures that I'm realizing now are all completely fabricated, weren't they? Everything but some Irving. What you just said about the Anne Frank diary, and I think that's fabricated. To hide the fact that your theory depends on a mystical conspiracy led by the devil. I may have somehow been dumb enough to follow you all this far down the rabbit hole, but one place I can tell you I will not go is hell. So, that night, back in my hotel room, the floorboards opened and an imp crawled out. He looked a lot like the outside. From my freshman year production of Dr. Faustus. Only this guy was not played by Jacob Horowitz, and I am not just blowing him in the dressing room. He led me down under the floorboards into a sort of like underground tunnel or a cave. I don't know, it was really hot and disorienting, and I kept hitting my head. Like first on pipes and then eventually rocks, and then, I don't know, eventually the tunnel opened up into a sort of underground clearing or marsh, and there was moonlight somehow coming from somewhere, and I could see we were outside a cemetery. My devil guide sort of vanished, and I was alone for just a second before 11 other people came out of the forest to converge with me on this clearing. A clock somewhere chimed 11, and the cemetery gate swung open, and one by one, we each walked through it, and I found myself following them, knowing what to do, but not like copying them, you understand? By like instinct, like it was something in my blood. And one by one, we each knelt at the tomb, the only tomb, the only tomb there, I think. And we each knelt down and we touched it 3 times with our foreheads. We each said the Shema, and by the time I go last, the clock is now chiming 12. And a blue metallic flame bursts forth from the tomb, and we all hold hands around it as he rises. With a serpent's tail, an octopus's middle, and the head of a cow. And his voice just rings out, "Greetings, heads of the 12 tribes of Israel! We greet you, son of the accursed." Oh, stop. When 100 years ago, this synod last convened, I instructed the leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel to implement my plan to rule the world. I further decreed that the leaders of the 12 tribes should send me their grandchildren in 100 years' time to report on their progress. You are those grandchildren. What do you report?
Menashe, yes, Satan, your grandfather was tasked with seeing Jews infiltrate the global media. Is it done? It is done, son of the accursed. Excellent. Excellent. Naphtali, yes, Satan, Naphtali, your grandfather was tasked with placing Jews in control of global medicine, law, and finance. It is as you ordered, son of the accursed. Wonderful, wonderful. Dan, yes, Satan, Daddy boy, your grandfather was tasked with achieving Jewish dominion over the markets of wine and beer. We have done it, Satan, and it is called Manischewitz. Sorry, everyone, Barry here. Levy, new member. Was Manischewitz really supposed to corner the market? Ah, Levi. It's Levy? It's Levi. Some people say Levi, some people say Levy, but it's Levi! Son of Levi, son of the Levi who founded the Levites, read your Torah, blah, blah, blah. I know who you are. I've been watching you since your grandfather was tasked with spreading stories of gassings and ovens. Oh my God, that was true. What Gramps called the Shoah people was true? Has it happened? Has the hoax taken hold? Have they given us Israel? Can I ascend to Jerusalem? Israel, ours. Jerusalem, there's still talk one day they might have to split. Jerusalem must not be divided. When you're back above ground, tell Netanyahu to call me. I believe this. We really were put on earth to do the devil's work. Oh, you sound so upset about it now. Isn't this what you wanted? For the Holocaust never to have happened? Well, I did want it to not be such a big deal. And I did want to, choose my own identity. But I didn't want to be, spawned by Satan. Oh, well, you got 2 out of 3. I think I gotta go. I have to tell someone about this. Oh, no. I'd keep quiet about it if I were you. Well, there may not have been a Holocaust of the Jews before. But imagine what might happen once that word got out. A clock chimed 1, and Satan dismissed us all with instructions that we send our grandchildren back to him in 100 more years to report on our next phase. Well, annihilating the Arabs. And just like that, I was back on its own. I know, right? I mean, I don't know if hearing all that upset me as much as living it upset me, but it was really rough. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to hear if you're Jewish especially. I mean, if you're satanic. That sucks. Although the good news is the Holocaust never happened. So that night, back in my hotel room, I just kept thinking, if I'm going to hell anyway, apparently, why do I want to spend the rest of my life yoked to an identity I don't want that's based on a lie? I don't, right? So in the morning, I did go straight back to Mahmoud, and I told him everything that I had seen, and I asked for his help in getting the word out so Jews everywhere could know we don't have to be a part of it anymore. We don't have to feel guilty for criticizing Israel, or like traitors for loving goys. Mahmoud wasn't even that surprised. He hugged me, and he took me right back to that Institute for Political and International Studies, and they started calling around immediately for a theater back home where I could start spreading the word. I guess everyone actually usually calls George Street Playhouse for this sort of thing, but they've got my name as Asher Lev this weekend, and Jersey City it is. And just in case any of you are doubting my artistic integrity or truthfulness right around now. Oh, I don't know, because I'm working with Iran, maybe, or because I claim to have dared defy Satan. Let me just say, well, exposing these discoveries to you here tonight comes at pretty great personal cost. I don't really have a family anymore. My brother won't speak to me for missing his wedding. My mom hasn't written since I sent her the first draft of this thing. And Anthony, well, so I got back from Iran, and I told Anthony first everything that had happened. He said, you have got to be kidding me with this bullshit. Anthony, this is what you wanted, for me to stop being such a victim. Yeah, but I did not want you to stop being Mel Gibson. This is how they took us from questioning, for empathizing, like you said, or for criticizing Israel. They make us believe in this Holocaust. Barry, can't you criticize Israel and believe in the Holocaust at the same time? No, you can't. I tried. That's how this whole thing started. But Barry, okay. What do your denier friends say about the Nuremberg testimony? Oh, that's coerced. Okay, and the photographs? Those are fake. In 1945? Didn't they have movies in 45 with special effects? Of course they were fake photographs. Oh, Barry, no. You know what is fake, though? Those protocols you think are about your grandfather and the devil? Okay, they're a plagiarized mashup of 2 old Russian books that were never even about Jews in the first place. Oh, wow, man, who taught you all of that factoid information? Wikipedia? Yeah, Barry, okay, yeah. I did go online and do some research when I got your local emails, okay? Like, for example, do you know that your friend Morrison had a protege who went back to Auschwitz to recreate all of his boss's experiments and completely refused every everything Forreston says about those gas chambers. Okay, great example, great. Forreston says A, Protégé says B. Just like some people say Hitler ordered genocide, some people say he didn't. But how are we ever really going to know? That we know from something called the Wannsee Protocol. We know from Eichmann's diaries. We know from Hitler saying, if they refuse to go voluntarily, I see no other solution except extermination. Oh no, Irving says that's a mistranslation. He said relocation. A British judge says that guy Irving is a lying Holocaust denier. They have a trial about it with evidence and everything. And at least, okay, let's start by at least admitting that the numbers could be completely made up. No, Barry, when you say those things, you have to prove them. No, I don't. I don't have to prove anything did not happen. You have to prove it did. And if you won't accept for your proof, photographs, or eyewitnesses, or diaries, or memoirs, or speeches, or censuses, or camp records, or kill reports, or work orders, or invoices, or blueprints, or forensic analysis, or testimony, or court verdicts, or international commissions. Barry, what other proof is there that you will accept? I happen to put great stock in the Confession of Satan. Oh, goodbye, Barry. No, wait, okay, I just not explaining it too well enough. Their side of the story. No, they have no side of the story. There's truth and there's lies. There's no side of the story that humans and dinosaurs coexisted. There's no side of the story that America never had slavery, Barry, or that Obama was born in Kenya. When you say those things, you're saying things that are not true. You do not get to say things that are not true. You do not get to teach them, or preach them, or do obnoxious self-serving little monologues about them. I don't want to be with someone racist against Jews any more than I wanted to be with someone racist against Arabs. Okay? This is over. But I did this for us, so I don't have to be Jewish anymore. Anthony? Oh, Anthony. No, please come back. He didn't get it. But you do, right? You understand how good this is, that the Holocaust never happened? Oh, sure, I know it's hard. To relearn what you know, reassess your identity, resign yourself to eternal damnation. Yeah, that's hard. What can I say? If you wanted easy, you should have gone into the city for Fiddler. Oh, you could have. Stayed ignorant, snug in your seats at some safer show, applauding your sentimental story of survival. You still can if you want. Stay ignorant, I mean. Just pretend nothing I told you tonight really happened. You know, that I ran didn't really fund this, or that I never really went there, or that I never really interviewed Satan. Like, for that matter, maybe I never really interviewed anyone. Maybe I never even left New York to write this. Maybe I don't even have a brother Howard. Or some lover named Anthony. Maybe nothing I've told you tonight is true. Not so easy after all, telling truth from lies. But if you'll feel better, dismiss me. The thing is, you'll lose. Because I am you, and there are more of me every day. And we have facts, and we have figures, and we post them, and we publish. And yes, they are different from the facts you vaguely remember from middle school, but you know what? They are just as convincing to people who want to believe. And every Gaza, every settlement, every time you silence your most sympathetic critics by crying, Holocaust, well, you just make more and more of us. More people working to change what's true. You can shake your head. You can tell me I'm wrong, but unless you can tell me how you determine the number of dead, and the intentionality of the killings, and the engineering of the gas chambers, eventually you will lose. To those of you I have reached here tonight, you're welcome. I know you're leaving here with lighter hearts. We are free. Try to explain that to your cranky neighbor on the way out if they're still on the fence. Or you know what, they're welcome to come talk to me. That is right, I plan on seeing each and every one of you individually after the show. Oh, I don't necessarily mean tonight. I don't even necessarily mean I'll look like me. Hell, I could look like anyone. But eventually you'll see me. You'll hear from me. And then you'll have your opportunity to respond. What will you say?